guys, today it's time for another Top 5 Wednesday. This week's topic are your top 5 problematic faves. So these are characters that, you like, but you don't really want to like, or characters that just have some problematic aspects to them and you still love them. This is a topic that I feel like fits me a little bit too well. It's really interesting actually because there's a few very common problematic faves that I am not the biggest fan of, like the Darkling, like William Herondale. I mean, he's fine, but these are just definitely characters where I cannot love them wholeheartedly. And then there's other characters who are way worse that I love with all of my heart. So I just want to get it out of the way. I'm not judging anyone for loving any characters. I'm not judging anyone for hating any characters. And I hope that we can have a very civil discussion. And I hope you all know that, these characters are obviously on the list because I know that they are problematic. And I acknowledge that they are not good characters. I decided not to rank these because there's so many different ways that I could rank them, like from least problematic to most problematic, or from least favorite to most favorite, and there were just so many options I got confused. So it's just a random top 5. Even though I don't rank these, the first one is definitely the one that I think is least problematic as far as I know, and that is Tyrion Lannister from Game of Thrones. Now I'm mostly talking about TV show Tyrion simply because, I have not read the books. He's definitely someone that a lot of people love, and I think a lot of people would kind of defend him and say, no, he's not a problematic fave. But for me, what made my final decision to put him on the list is that, there's certain things in the past that have happened that were maybe a little bit problematic. But the thing is, especially with how the last season kind of ended and the kind of theories that are around him, I just realized that I have come to a point where he could probably even kill Jon Snow. And I would be like, I love Tyrion, I don't understand. So I have just gotten to this point where he could become the most problematic character of the show, and I would still protect him at all costs. So that's why I thought he'd fit this list perfectly, even though he is probably the least problematic out of all the other ones. Then I have Lucius Malfoy from the Harry Potter series. Now, I didn't really want to include any villains for the most part because, most villains, it's I love to hate them, and I still kind of find everything they do problematic, but I love the way that they influence the story. With Lucius Malfoy, and I have gotten shit for this before, so please, understand what I'm saying. I just find Lucius a precious character and I cannot explain it. I understand how horrible he is, and I understand that, especially the Draco lovers find him to be the most horrible character of the series, and I get where you're coming from, but I can't help it. I love him, and I'm not here to excuse any of the things he's done, and I'm not here to kind of say the things that Draco had to go through because of the decision his father made is okay. But I just love Lucius Malfoy, and I don't even love him as a villain. I just love him as a character, also as a villain, but mostly just as a character, and I just find him precious. I don't know, I talked about this before, I'm not gonna go into detail again, but Lucius Malfoy, whew, yeah. Then I have Noah Shaw from the Maradaya trilogy. Now, first of all, he is problematic, but he also fits very well into this category of characters that you like even though you really don't want to like them. If I were to rank them from I'm most okay with liking them to I'm least okay with liking them, Noah Shaw would be number 1. He is... he goes through development in the trilogy, and I'm interested to see how much more we're gonna see of that development in the trilogy that, is from his perspective. But oh my god, in the first book, I already loved him, and I felt like I was back into, I don't know, my Twilight teenage years, because I was just Noah Shaw is a flawless character, he can't do no wrong, although he was doing all of the wrong things. I fell headfirst into this horrible teenage boy trope I don't even know. I feel horrible about it. Then I have Jaime Lannister from Game of Thrones. This is definitely basically 100% TV show because I know that the TV show people really did not treat him well at all. From what I've heard in the books, it's definitely not as bad as it is in the TV show. But in the TV show, they have made him into a character and they have made him done things that I just don't agree with and I almost want to ignore. I almost want to be like, this is not Jaime, this is not who he is, and I just don't think that these things kind of fit. But he did the things in the show, so show-wise they are canon, and that makes him maybe even the worst problematic fave on my list, because the things that he has done are just the things that from this whole list I would consider the worst. I don't want to go into detail because, you know, not everybody is caught up on the TV show, but I think if you would just Google him and put in like problematic or something, you would immediately find like blog posts and videos about it, and also just kind of how most people think that this is not really the Jaime that's in the books, but rather the Jaime that, you know, the TV show writers kind of make him to be. Now, as I said, I can't really speak for that because I have not read the books, but I do think that even if he was that way in the books, then the TV show writers, they would have had the power to change that. I just don't think that he deserves the things that he has done, if that makes any sense. Obviously, the things he does to other people, they don't deserve it either. But I just mean from a perspective of like not in the story, but outside from the story, I just think it's not fair what they make him do, if that makes any sense. But yeah, I am just mad. But he's another of those characters that could probably do a million more horrible things, and I would be just like, that's fine, that's fine. But I do have to say that's probably really mostly because I try to ignore these things because I just kind of don't consider them canon. And finally, I have one character that I always am a little bit scared to talk about, but I think at this point most of the people that watch my videos know that I love this character and they understand why, and they understand that I understand that he's not a good character. What would a problematic faves list of mine be without Severus Snape? I just cannot help it, and his storyline still makes me emotional. He's one of those characters that I wish I didn't want to like, but I do. I like wholeheartedly like him. I wholeheartedly love him, and he remains one of my favorite characters simply because for me he's one of the most interesting characters. And I think even though, you know, lots of his story kind of get revealed in the books, there's still even so much more about him. Like sometimes I even wish I could read from his perspective, and I'm not even saying that I would love to read from his perspective so that there's even more of a redemption arc. I think that reading from his perspective would reveal so many more like horrible things about him and would reveal even more of what an abusive person he is. But I can't help it. I just find his story so interesting. He is definitely the character that I don't want to excuse any of the things he has done the most out of all of these. Like, he's the one character where I would never argue with a person that any of the things he has done is okay, or that, you know, he deserved the redemption that he got. Or rather, I do think that his redemption arc is good and important. I just wish that, you know, people wouldn't be like, he is the best, most pure character, but that people would be able to actually have an open discussion about it and kind of realize how this redemption arc that he got doesn't excuse all of his earlier behavior. I feel like as someone who loves this character but who realizes how horrible and problematic he is, I constantly kind of have to clean up after the stans who just cannot see any fault in any of his behavior and who say shit like, oh, do you want to fault him for being in love with this person for like decades? Why? These people, they ruin it. They ruin it for people like me who understand what is going on, who still love this character. This is probably how like normal Justin Bieber fans feel. Like, they constantly have to endure being put in one place with like horrible, stalkery, awful fans. I feel you, Justin Bieber fans. Wow, I never thought I would compare Justin Bieber to Severus Snape, but here we are. Anyway, as I said, most of you, I think, understand where I'm coming from, understand that, you know, my love for him is very much because he, for me, is just one of the most interesting characters in the series, but that I understand that, you know, he's a bully, he's abusive, and that, you know, this is not like a beautiful love story. I can't help it. I love him, and I don't think I'll ever stop. Anyway, so these were my top 5 problematic faves. I am interested to hear your thoughts about these characters. What do you think about them? Do you think that, you know, as long as you're aware of the problematic things they have done, it's okay to like them, it's okay to love them, it's okay to consider them your favorite characters? And obviously I want to hear some of your problematic faves in the comments down below. Let me know like your worst one that you're like almost ashamed to mention. For me, Severus Snape has almost become that person, but like I can feel like I can be open with you because I feel like most of you kind of get it, even if you hate him. But for the most part at this point, I feel kind of scared to mention him anywhere else. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I guess I'll see you soon. Bye!